The human delegation strode into the large meeting hall, passing through the low-profile scanners at the entrance. As expected, no alarms sounded to indicate any weaponry, explosives, or other maliciously intentioned findings. The ambassador, dressed in a neat, clean-lined set of garments of a dark grey, layered under and over a colourful splash of bright fabric, led the remainder of the group, creating a presentation of a stern but pleasant being, broadcasting an aura of power and authority and dominance around them. Immediately behind and slightly offset the ambassador were two others, dressed in similar attire, but whose underlayers were stark white rather than a bright colour, allowing them to wear an additional stripe design down the centre. Each carried a personal access datapad, and constantly danced through a series of motions with it, and their embedded ocular displays. Clearly, they coordinate the information for the ambassador to be properly informed at all moments. To the outside of the core party, 4 nearly identical interchangeable soldiers flanked the diplomats with their uniforms of the colour of deep space. Behind the remainder of the party marched the individual who, quite clearly, was responsible for the security of the entire party. Preliminary analysis of the group indicated that the ambassador is a human woman. One aide is clearly a human man, while the other is of indeterminate social gender function. The guards appear to be split evenly between the 2 primary gender roles, with their commander clearly manifesting a clear and overt feminine aura. Scanning the room, as viewed from points along its perimeter, showed 2 other species already present, each with their own ambassadors and accompanying entourage of support staff. The atmosphere of the salon, inertly providing pressure for a variety of functions, was kept as clear of pollutants as possible through aggressive and constant filtering. Every substance, from the gases present in the exhalations of each life form to the scents their bodies emit, and even the very remnants of machinery and lubrications used to keep the station working, were filtered out in a constant flow of pure nitrogen. Every individual present for this conference wore a respiration aid, or some sort. The Syrians required a minimum of 3% free methane and 15% water vapor in their air. The Centaurians wilt and falter if the atmosphere is less than 1% carbon dioxide. The human delegation, an anomaly among the self-aware species of the galaxy, require a minimum of 15% free oxygen in their environments. Each of the species present for this negotiation was acutely aware of the potential disasters that could be wrought by the conference, from the simplest mistakes of poor diplomacy, through the catastrophic biology lesson from the incompatible natures of the different worlds' native biology. Each delegation, therefore, played a critical role in preserving their own peace for the betterment of all 3 worlds. The conference, held on the neutral station prepared specially for this conference by the Galactic Peacemakers, lazily orbited Barnard's star. Each day of the conference passed with the precision of moments known through the cosmos, each day presenting opportunities for the delegations to discuss grievances between their worlds, each day providing opportunities for the diplomats of each world to render a peaceful future in the tiny smudge upon the galactic map that all 3 species occupied. The view of a star, unlike any of their homes, was a humbling influence on each delegation, as intended by the peacemakers, to remind the delegates that their world is insignificant next to the vastness of the cosmos, and that there are greater forces at work which could swallow every member of their biospheres without a second thought. So creating artificial reasons for conflict were an absurd way to spend the limited time that each of us have within the shared reality we all experience. The setting did its work effectively, and each of the delegations felt their stern adherence to their originating point of view vanish beneath the pulsating light of the foreign star. Each delegation felt the weight of their world's existence and futures on their shoulders, and each, as though by the magic of camaraderie, slid their way into accepting an agreement that was beneficial to all 3 species without any yielding their rights of independence in their galactic neighborhood. The conference, for all 3 ambassadors and the peacemakers, was considered a success. As part of the agreement forced upon the 3 species by the peacekeepers, all members of the ambassadorial delegations would be monitored and studied for the duration of their time on the neutral station, and the resulting learnings gathered by the station's sensors would be shared with all relevant parties. This, it was deemed, was an essential way to better understand the uniqueness of every world, and the biological diversity created by unique evolutionary conditions. From the data provided to the humans, they learned that Centaurians were plants. Their biological functions paralleled and almost exactly duplicated the biology of plants on Earth. The Centaurians likewise learned that humans were much like the portion of their biosphere that devoured and recycled the biomass of their homeworld through oxidizing it, emitting the very carbon dioxide that they needed to breathe. Both of these species learned that the Sirian's biological process was altogether foreign in nature, having no major analogue on either of their worlds. The Peacekeeper scans and resulting analyses were so thorough that each of the species gained a wealth of knowledge about not only the other delegation's biologies, but also new insights into their own species' functioning. The advanced capacity of the Peacekeepers was so great that each of the delegation's world's top biologists would spend years unraveling the insights provided to them about themselves. All life accrues injuries over time, and the marks of these injuries accumulate in their host. Each of the species present presented thousands of such marks within their delegation, from scars ranging in the microscopic range, from things as simple as a paper cut, through to evidence of completely rebuilt and replaced limbs. Each of the species' technology levels differed, and their medical advancements were their own. But, out of all the delegations, there was one individual whose scarring was far above the average. One individual whose past told a great story of a fantastic injury and recovery. Scans of the leader of the human guard showed a horrific marbleization of scar tissue across much of her body, and swirling deep into all layers of the epidermis. The scars, though expertly tended to and barely visible to the naked eye, were severe and glowed radiantly on the medical displays. Where it was visible to the optical organs of the other delegations, it looked, to them, like the tiniest slices of smooth polymer, etching a snaking course across her skin, vast patches of her skin having subtly different colouring than patches neighbouring them. Both the Centaurians and the Sirians, when analysing the data, reached a conclusion of terrifying proportions. In both of their worlds, fires can occur, but they are very difficult to maintain. They are controlled, they are used as tools for society, and carefully contained because of how dangerous they are. Fires kill. Anyone from their species who get burned never heal. They use various substances forever, and are permanently in horrifying pain from the damage to their nerves by the heat that burned them. Anyone from their species who gets burned must, for the sake of their futures, receive an amputation of the burned areas. If possible, replacements can be grown and grafted on, or artificial replacements manufactured. But the only treatment they have for a burn is to remove the damaged tissue completely. Here, in the data before them, is evidence that an individual from the Earth delegation who stood before them not only survived a massive burn injury but healed from it. Both the Sirians and Centaurians began experiments in earnest in secure laboratories. Rooms filled with atmospheres found on Earth were created, and fires lighted. Things burned. Things roared in fires that had to be extinguished by pumping all the atmosphere out of the labs. Every form of biomass they experimented with was able to burn in the human environment. The humans, they realized, were so tough and durable that they could handle being burned, and burned very badly, and live. Not just live, but thrive. They scoured the data and discovered that every single human from the delegation has the marks of dozens of little burns on their bodies. The humans, it seemed, experience the most horrific of injuries regularly, and it does not even faze them in the slightest. The Sirians and Centaurians each prepared reports to their governments to never, ever engage the humans in a military conflict, because they are too resistant to ever conquer.